Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at noon starts now.
The fate of Jennifer Crumbley now in the hands of the jury as deliberations begin. 7 days of testimony, all coming down to this, and a verdict could come at any minute.
The prosecution called 21 witnesses in all, and the defense called just Crumbley to testify. Sean Lay has been in the courtroom every step of the way, and he is live for us right now. Sean, these jurors have a lot to weigh before they come to a decision.
Every item, every file, every video delivered to the jury room around 10:15 this morning. Look, guys, here's the very latest. The judge starting her jury instructions at 9:15 this morning. Took about 45 minutes. She really boiled down exactly what this case against Jennifer Crumbley is really all about. So much at stake here. Crumbley was in the courtroom as the jurors walked out with, as you say, her fate in their hands.
As jurors, you must decide what the facts of this case are. This is your job and nobody else's.
Oakland Circuit Court Judge Cheryl Matthews instructing the jury this morning, the jury that will decide the fate of Jennifer Crumbley. 6 men and 6 women making up the jury. 5 alternates were also selected by the judge. This after an incredibly emotional and tense trial. The judge acknowledging how taxing this has been for everyone.
I think you can imagine that this has been a very emotional and stressful event for both parties, the prosecutor, the defense, and the families, and it's been a lot for the courthouse, too.
The judge also spelling out what the jury must decide. That Jennifer Crumbley is responsible for the deaths of Hannah St. Juliana, Madison Baldwin, Justin Schilling, and Tate Meir for not properly securing a firearm. And if Crumbley failed to perform her legal duty as a parent, to provide ordinary care that would have addressed her son's issues.
The prosecutor claims that the defendant committed involuntary manslaughter because she was grossly negligent.
Back here live outside Oakland County Courthouse, first of its kind case going after and charging a parent for their son or daughter's mass shooting. That's what's happening here with the Crumbley case. Again, the jury got this case around 10:15 this morning. When I mentioned exhibits and files, boxes of that matter, there's about 400 to 500 exhibits the prosecutors put on. Remember, the defense only called one witness in its defense of Jennifer Crumbley, and that was Jennifer Crumbley herself, plus days of added testimony with all of the witnesses that the prosecutors called. They got the case at 10:15. The judge says she'll send in coffee and then likely lunch right now. We're out here. If there's a verdict, you'll be first to know, guys. Back to you.
Yeah, and everybody watching by the minute. All right, Sean, we'll continue to have special coverage right on Local 4 Plus, including reaction to the verdict as soon as it comes down. You can also follow that at clickondetroit.com. We're working to find out more about a deadly shooting on Detroit's east side. This is a look at the scene from earlier this morning at Shaner and Edmore. Police found a man shot to death in this area a little after 3:30 this morning. Investigators don't have any information on a possible suspect as of yet. The Arab American Civil Rights League meeting today in Dearborn to talk about a recent Wall Street Journal article that targets the city. The article has the headline, "Welcome to Dearborn, America's Jihad Capital." And the writer accuses some city leaders of siding with Hamas and Iran against the U.S. City leaders say there have been an increase now in Islamophobic rhetoric online targeting the city since this story went up. We'll have more on this tonight on Local 4 News at 6, including President Biden's response to that article.
A Pistons legend who was more than an athlete has passed away. Earl Curtin was a longtime community ambassador and a Detroit native. Curtin spent most of his life expanding the footprint of basketball right here in the city of Detroit. Curtin played 3 seasons with the Pistons from 1983 to 1986. He played 2 of his college seasons at the University of Detroit Mercy, where his number 24 was retired back in 2020. He has been involved with the Pistons organization over the past 10 years and has worked closely with the Detroit community. His cause of death is not known. He was just 66 years old.
Census is extremely important.
Huge loss.
Such a sad day to see him go. U.S. military leaders are assessing the damage from the strikes carried out in the Middle East over the weekend.
National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan saying this is only the first part of the U.S. response. NBC's Bree Jackson in Washington with the latest.
In a letter to Congress, President Biden defended his order to attack targets in Iraq and Syria and said additional measures could come. A preliminary assessment from the Defense Department shows at least 84 of the locations targeted in Friday's strikes in Iraq and Syria were destroyed or functionally damaged. The Biden administration says these strikes are the start of a response to the deadly drone attack that killed 3 U.S. service members.
We do believe that the strikes had good effect in degrading the capabilities of these militia groups to attack us.
Some Republicans say the recent airstrikes against Iran-backed militia groups are not strong enough.
Our national security is in free fall. Here's what works. Hit something they value.
What we need to be doing right now is turning up the heat on Iran. We need to act to decimate the Iran central bank, the assets that they've held there. We need to lean on international banks to seize the assets of Iranian proxies.
The Iranian regime denies any connection to the drone attack in Jordan and condemned the Biden administration's response, warning it could bring about the wrath of the region. U.S. officials say they do not want to spark a wider war.
We don't want to go to war with Iran. That, by the way, is an objective that Iran shares. They don't want to go to war with us.
National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan did not rule out strikes inside Iran.
What I will say is that the president is determined to respond forcefully to attacks on our people.
White House officials say the U.S. intends to take additional actions in the region, but did not specify where. This week, Secretary of State Antony Blinken is on his 5th trip to the Middle East since October, as the White House seeks to secure the release of hostages held by Hamas and increase aid to Gaza. In Washington, Bree Jackson, back to you.
A bipartisan group of senators have finally agreed on a bill to address the migrant crisis at the southern border and provide foreign aid to Ukraine and Israel, and it likely won't matter. The $118 billion bill would significantly restrict illegal migrant crossings at the U.S.-Mexican border and dramatically change immigration law. $60 billion in aid would go to Ukraine and $14 billion to Israel. However, the Republican speaker says it will be dead on arrival in the House.
The United Football League announced the schedule for its inaugural season, and the Michigan Panthers start off the year with 3 straight home games. The Panthers will open the season on Saturday, March 30th against the St. Louis Battlehawks. Season tickets are now available right now, and single game tickets will be available for pre-sale starting on February 20th before becoming available to the public 2 days later. The Panthers are looking to build on the success of last season, where they played in the USFL title game, but came up just short.